You didn't even push go on.
Hello, everybody. I'm Talaya Musman. Hello, everybody. I'm Talaya Musman. I'm from the Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lehman First Nation. I am also a co-founder and leader of the Mosquito Youth Group, and alongside me, I have.
Hi guys, I'm Kiana Musaman. I'm from the Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lehman First Nation. I am a co-founder and leader of the Musqueam Youth Group. We are happy to be back. Sorry for not being around for a long time. We needed a little break to get things put together for you guys. We have a lot of things planned and a lot of things that you guys need to stay in tune for.
But we have been working on some things lately, and today we just got news that we got approved for the Rising Youth Grant. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, the Rising Youth Grant.
She'll read the email that we got sent this morning.
The email says, "Hi Talaya, congratulations. Your project has been approved for Rising Youth Community Services Grant from the Taking It Global. We're so proud to support your community service idea and help it turn into action." Your grant support coordinator is also copied on this email. It's just telling her a bunch of things that she needs to do. But the grant is for
we're going to be using the grant to make a whole bunch of care packages for people. So there's going to, what's the age category?
The age group we're going to be doing is ages 12 to 25. So anybody that you know that would love to get a care package, then you just have to let us know, comment down below, give us a thumbs up. We are going to get those out as soon as we can. We will start doing that. But on side note, we wanted to ask what you guys would like to see in the care packages, what you guys would want. Any ideas that you have, you can just comment them now. We are writing them down.
So far what we have for there's just the basic needs, obviously. So there's going to be a toothbrush. There can be like a whole bunch of different things.
Toothbrush, toothpaste, body wash, just main things that you need hygienic wise. Rather than that, yeah, we're really kind of stuck on ideas on that part because we have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, just for you guys.
So if you guys want to tell us what you want in care packages, we'd want them not to be like so, plain, but to have
a lot of things gender neutral. A lot of gender neutral things and stuff like that.
Yeah. And we just need some ideas on what you guys want in specific in them. If you guys want something in specific for them,
Also, we are going to be talking and starting our podcast learning about the First Nations treaties. So I'm just going to read off a little something we had found on Wikipedia on how they describe First Nations. So in Canada, the First Nations are the predominant Indigenous peoples in Canada. South of the Arctic Circle, those in the Arctic area are distinct and known as Inuit. The Métis, another distinct ethnicity developed after European contact and relations, primarily between First Nations people and Europeans. There are 634 recognized First Nation governments or bands spread across Canada, roughly half of which are in the provinces of Ontario and British Columbia. The total population for the First Nations flags are 977,235. That is a lot, actually.
That's nearly a million.
That really is. The languages are the Aboriginal languages, Aboriginal English. The religions are Christianity, traditional beliefs, and there could be others. We haven't really looked into that. Related ethnic groups are Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Métis. Would you like to read off?
Under charter.
Under charter.
Oh, charter.
Sorry for my wording. Jurisprudence. First Nations are a designated group along with women, visibly minorities, and people with physical or mental disabilities. First Nations are not defined as a visible minority by the criteria of Statistics Canada. North American Indigenous people have cultures spanning thousands of years. Some of their oral traditions accurately describe historical events such as the Cascadia, if I'm saying that correct, sorry if I'm not saying that correct, earthquake of the 1700s and the 18th century. Written records begin with the arrival of European explorers and colonists. During the Age of Discovery, beginning in the late 15th century, European accounts by trappers, traders, explorers, and missionaries give important evidence of early contact culture. In addition, archaeological and anthropological, sorry, I'm having bad speech here, research as well as linguistics have helped scholars piece together an understanding of ancient cultures and historic peoples. Although not without conflict, early colonist interactions with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit populations were less combative compared to the often violent battles between colonists and native peoples in the United States. So basically, to sum that up, it's just giving you a little understanding of when the First Nations and the non-First Nations had met up and started their trades. So that was back in the early 15th century, from what I'm reading here. So the terminology is collectively First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people constitute Indigenous peoples in Canada, Indigenous peoples of the Americas, or First Nations people. First Nations as a term became officially used beginning in the 1980s to replace the term Indian band and referring to groups of Indians with common government and language. The term had come into common usage in the 1970s to avoid using the word Indian, which some Canadians considered offensive, which it really is. No legal definition of the term exists. Some Indigenous peoples in Canada have also adopted the term First Nations to replace the word band in the formal name of their community. A band is a body of Indians or First Nations for those for whose use and benefits in common lands have been set apart, monies are held or declared to be for the band purposes of the Indian Act by the Canadian Crown. So that basically states the purpose of having a band, and it was used for like the profits that they make, the money that we get from the Canadian government. The term Indian is a misnomer given to the Indigenous peoples of North America by European explorers who erroneously thought they had landed in the East Indies.
Yeah, so basically Christopher Columbus came up with the term Indians because he thought he was in East Indies, but he wasn't, obviously.
The use of the term Native Americans, which the U.S. government and others have adopted, is not common in Canada. It refers more specifically to the Indigenous peoples residing within the boundaries of the United States. The parallel term Native Canadian is not commonly used. But Native in English and autochtone in Canadian French from the Greek own, and I don't know how to say this word, so if I get it wrong. This one. Chthon land are under the Royal Proclamation of 1763, also known as the Indian Magna Carta. The Crown referred to the Indigenous peoples in the British territory as tribes or nations. The term First Nation is capitalized. Bands and nations may have significantly different meanings. So bands and nations have different meanings, in case you guys didn't know that. Yeah. So things like bands are made for where all the money for the Indigenous registered of that band. Nations are like the Cree Nation, the Sioux Nation, the Inuits, the Métis, things like that. So those are a little bit of an example for the difference between bands and nations.
Within Canada's First Nation has come into general use for Indigenous people, other than Inuit and Métis individuals. Using the term outside Canada includes USA tribes within the Pacific Northwest as well. As supporters as the Cascadia independence movement, the singular commonly used on culturally
Politicized.
reserves in the term First Nations people, which gender specific First Nations man or First Nation woman. A more recent trend is for members of various nations to refer to themselves as their tribal or nationality identifier only. Had media or
So basically, what she's trying to say is some First Nations recognize themselves due to their tribe. So I could say, "Hi, I'm Kiona. I'm Plains Cree First Nation. Plains Cree Native. Sorry. So that's just to recognize where you're from. Instead of saying I'm just from a First Nation.
I'm just a First Nations woman. You just identify as your tribe.
Yeah, it's basically what she's saying. The history for prehistory, First Nations by linguistic culture area. These are a list of First Nations people. First Nations people have settled and established trade routes across what is now Canada by 1000 BC to 500 BC. So that is a very, very long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. Communities developed each within its own culture, customs, and characters. In the Northwest, where a certain First Nations group, there is multiple of them that I do not know how to say the correct names of. I will correct that in later dates. I'm still learning. Bear with me, guys. Along with this, the Pacific Coast, where the Hendaya, Salish, Kwakiutl, Nucha, Nutha. These are just a bunch of the First Nations. In the plains were the Blackfoot, the northern Pagan. In the northern woodlands were the Cree, and the Chippewas. Around the Great Lakes were the Anishinaabe, the Algonquins, and a bunch of other First Nations were in the Great Lakes area. Along with the Atlantic coast were the Beothuk, the Inuit basically, and the Mi'kmaqs. Those are where some First Nations are reside. Also, the Blackfoot resides in the Great Plains of Montana and Canadian provinces of Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan.
The name Blackfoot comes from the color of the people's leather footwear known as moccasins. They have dyed or painted the bottoms of their moccasins black. One account claimed that the Blackfoot Confederacies walked to the ashes of prairie fires, which in turn the colors of their moccasins black. They had migrated into the Great Plains from the plateau area. The Blackfoot people may have lived in their homeland since the end of the Pleistocene, 12,000 years ago. For thousands of years, they managed the prairies to support bison herds and cultivated berries to edible roots. Historically, they allowed only
legitimate traders into their territory, making treaties only when the bison herds were exterminated in the 1870s. So that's when they only made trades, was when the bisons were exterminated in the 1870s. That's the only time they'd want hide or certain things from the First Nations. Was around that time.
Get for themselves, obviously.
The Squamish history, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, is a series of past events both passed on through oral tradition and recent history of the Squamish Indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest coast. Prior to colonization, they recorded their history through oral tradition as well as a way to transmit his stories, laws, and knowledge across generations. Their writing system, established in the 1970s, used the Latin alphabet as a base. Knowledgeable elders had the responsibility to pass the historical knowledge to the next generation. People lived and prospered for thousands of years until the Great Flood and another story. After the flood, they would repopulate from the villages of Skank, I'm sorry, I'm not saying it wrong, and Keckwelt, located at Gibson's. When the water lines rescinded, the first Squamish came to be. The first man named Tishkatin, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, built his longhouse in the village, and later on another man named, cannot pronounce his name. He is a very important man, sorry. Exalatin, appeared on his longhouse roof and sent by the creator, or the Squamish language, Kiki Sevenixiam. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He called this man his brother. It was from these two men that the population began to rise, so the Squamish spread back through their territory. That is a history behind the Squamish people, and I will learn the names correctly. I'm so sorry that I'm saying them wrong. I am still learning, like I said, bear with me.
Yeah.
This is a traditional longhouse. So I'm going to tell you what a longhouse is. The longhouse influence extended from the northern New York into what are now southern Ontario and the Montreal area of modern Quebec. The Iroquois Confederacy is, from the oral tradition, formed circa 1142, adept at cultivating three sisters, maize, beans, squash. Those are the three sisters, keep that in mind. The longhouse became powerful because of their confederacy. Gradually, the Algonquins adopted agriculture practices, enabling larger populations to be sustained. The Assiniboines were close allies and trading partners of the Cree, engaging in wars against the Gros Ventres. Alongside them, and later fighting the Blackfeet, a Plains people, they went no further north than the northern Saskatchewan River and purchased a great deal of European trade goods through Cree middlemen from the Hudson's Bay Company. The lifestyle of this group was semi-nomadic, and they would follow the herds of bison during the warmer months. They traded with European traders and worked with the Mandan Hitsay and the Arikara tribes. In the earliest oral history, the Algonquins were from the Atlantic coast, together with the Anishinaabeg. I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. They arrived at the First Nations shopping place near Montreal, where the other, I think it's Anishinaabe peoples. Anishinaabeg peoples continued their journey up the St. Lawrence River. The Algonquins settled along the Ottawa River, an important highway for commerce, culture exchange, and transportation from time immemorial. A distinct longhouse identity, though, was not realized until after the dividing of the Anishinaabe at the third stopping place, estimated about 2,000 years ago near present-day Detroit. So this all happened in Ottawa, Detroit area. This is where they make their trades, and they'd only go, the Korean Plains Cree people would only go so far, only along the Saskatchewan River, which is good to know because that is around our area, and those are our people. If you are from Treaty 4 and 6. I will allow my co-host here to read the
According
next
to the
section.
traditions from recording in Bigawa, South Back, birch bark squirrels, Ojibwe came from the eastern areas of the North America of Turtle Island from along the east coast. They traded widely across the continent for thousands of years and knew of the canoe routes west and a land route to the west coast. According to the oral history, 7 great Migas appears to the people of the
Wabanaki
to teach the people of the
midway
of life. One of the 7 great Migas was too spiritual, powerful, and killed the people in
Wabanking. Wabanaki.
When the people were in its presence, the great six Miigwes began remaining to teach while the one returned to the oceans. The six great Miigwes began to establish dominance for the people of the east of the Dudems, the original five. Anishinaabe Dudems were the bullhead crane, pintail duck, bear, and little moose. These six Miigwes beings returned to the ocean as well. If the seventh Miigwes began stay, it would have established the Thunderbirds Dudem. So that's basically an urban legend.
So just to keep in mind, the six were the bullhead, pintail duck, bear, and little moose, and Thunderbird. So in case you guys have to remember that for further references. The Nunchanuth are one of the indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest coast. The term Nunchanuth is used to describe 15 separate but related First Nations, such as the Tahlequin First Nation. I'm still learning these First Nations names. Ahatis First Nation and Hedequin First Nations, whose traditional home is in the Pacific Northwest on the west coast of Vancouver Island. In pre-contact and early post-contact times, the number of First Nations was much greater, but smallpox and other consequences of contact resulted in disappearance of groups and the abortions of others into neighboring groups. The Nunchanuth are resolutions of the Kwakwaka, and the Didhin and the Dideh. The Nunchanuth language is the part of the Wakashan language group. I'm sorry if I'm saying some of these words wrong. I'm still learning. Bear with me. I do not have a very good native tongue. In 1999, the discovery of the body of Kwada Dan Tashuni provided archaeologists with significant information on indigenous tribal life prior to existent European contact. Kwada Dan Tashuni, meaning long ago person found in southern.
The meaning of that word is long ago person found in southern.
In a southern area. Or Canadian Iceman is a naturally mummified body found in a provincial park in British Columbia by a group of hunters. Radiocarbon dating of artifacts found with the body placed the age of the find between 1450 AD and 1700 AD. Genetic testing has shown he was a member of the Champlain and Anishinaabe First Nations. Local clans are considering a memorial potlatch to honor Kwande Dishnachi. Sorry, I'm saying it wrong. European contact. It is peoples at the time of European contact. Sorry. Aboriginal people in Canada interacted with Europeans as far back as 1000 AD, but prolonged contact came only after Europeans established permanent settlements in the 17th and 18th centuries. European written accounts noted friendliness on the part of the First Nations, who profited in trade with Europeans. Such trade strengthened the more organized political entities such as the Iroquois Confederation. The Aboriginal population is estimated to have been between 200,000 and 2 million in the late 15th century. Wow, guys, there was around 200,000 to 2 million First Nations back in the 15th century. Wow, you learn something new every day. The effect of European colonization was a 40 to 80% Aboriginal population decrease post-contact. This is attributed to various factors, including repeated outbreaks of European infectious diseases such as influenza, measles and smallpox, to which they had not developed immunity. In Inter-First Nation conflicts over the fur trade, conflicts with colonial authorities and settlers, and loss of land, and a subsequent loss of nations' self-sufficiency. For example, during the late 1630s, smallpox killed more than half of the Huron, who controlled most of the early fur trades in what became Canada, reduced to fewer than 10,000 people. The Huron Wendat were attacked by the Iroquois, the traditional enemies, and the Martinis. The Beothuk disappeared entirely. So, in case you didn't get that, half of the
This is basically just talking about how the influenza wiped out a good majority of it.
40 to 80% of the Aboriginal people had decreased in time.
No.
But white people gave them dirty blankets. I'm still learning my history. I've never heard that white people gave them dirty blankets. I'm sure our people did make their own blankets due to, the amount of buffalo, bison at the time. I think it was more or less the Europeans that wanted what we had. But because of the Europeans, 40 to 80% of our First Nation people got infected with influenza, measles, and smallpox, which decreased our population, which gave them advantage to, authorities over land. We lost a lot of land due to that, and a lot of things disappeared from us, like during the trades. And this is all because of the people that were in charge of the trades during that time were keeling over due to the infectious disease, because there's no cure for it at the time. There was no,
that's what caused it. So
no cause.
It's true.
Sorry, it's not racist, but it's
To each
true.
their own.
Yeah, everyone has their own opinion on how, things happened back then. We wouldn't know that. We have to ask our ancestors ourselves, pray to them, ask them to give us guidance on how to read things like this, how to put our minds through what happened to our people. A lot of the Europeans did make a lot of mistakes that led up to what it's like in today's life for First Nations and our people. Like right now, there's a settlement for our land for the Mosquito First Nation. And due to that, everyone is getting $20,000, but that does not cover for what has happened to our people, how our land got stolen, what has happened, in past has, like, our people back in the day went through so much to get us what we have now. And even if it's the land that was stolen, it the money's not going to make up for that. Like, our people are gone, things have happened to them, and there's nothing that can, money can't buy back our people. Money can't buy our hurt. Money can buy things like that. We have a comment that says, but white people posing like good people, in which our Mushum and Gukums took them just like gifts. That what it was called. Took them just like gifts.
Are
you talking about residential school? Just to clarify that, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to get at here. Like we said, everyone has their own opinions. We're still learning ourselves about this stuff. We're learning along with you guys. That's why we want to bring up the treaties and what First Nations went through, just to give younger and older audiences an understanding, like, behind what happened in the first times when they first started fur trading, when they first started when Europeans first found us, when Christopher Columbus first found us, because he thought we were Indians from India, but we weren't. Obviously, we are First Nations.
We thought he found us was the funny part.
Speaking of him, there are reports of contact made before Christopher Columbus between the First Nations people and those from other continents. See, so Christopher Columbus wasn't the first to find First Nations people. He wasn't the first to know. It was more or less just he was the first known man, like, to travel to find First Nations or to know of, because he thought,
no one discovered
he
that
thought he was
yet.
going to East East Indies, but he wasn't. He was coming to our land, bringing Europeans over here. Nothing wrong with that. No, it was when they came here from Europe. Yes, people's even in Columbus' time, there was much speculation that Europeans had made the trip in ancient or contemporary times. So records account of these in his general neutral history of 1526, which includes biographical information on Columbus. Aboriginal First Nations contact period is not well defined. So they did come by 1526. They did travel here in that early time in the 1500s. You are correct on that. That's when they did come, in case you are wondering. That's when the Europeans first made their trip here to the First Nations lands. First Nations as in Indigenous and Aboriginal First Nations. First Nations meaning, I want to get to that really quickly, is where you are from, a First Nation. I come from the Cree Nation. That's where I come from. Your tribe. That's my tribe. A nation is like, if I had
your reserve.
Your reserve.
So yeah. Red pheasant.
Reservation.
Reservation.
Earliest accounts of contact occurred in the late 10th century between the Beothuk and the Norsemen. According to the sagas of Icelanders, the first European to see what is now Canada was Bargini Harjusvoldsson. Sorry, I will learn these names just to help you guys. It is kind of hard to say their names. They are kind of written weird because they are really old names. He who was blown off course en route from Iceland to Greenland in the summer of 985 or 986 CE. Wow, very long time ago, guys. The first European explorers and settlers of what is now Canada relied on the First Nations people for resources and to trade, sustain a living. So basically, they came here asking for help from the First Nations people. Knowing that it was their land, they had respect at that time. They did make a trade with our people to make a living for themselves, but with an agreement with the First Nations at the time, knowing that their resources and trade were just to sustain a living. They just wanted to be here. They weren't, having any threat at the time, but along the road, it became more worse because of more non-First Nations people came in, like the Europeans. Like your girl said, nobody knew they were bringing their sickness, like smallpox. That was main disease that killed off our ancestors. Yes, they did not know. There was not a knowing of smallpox at the time. They didn't really know what is the sickness, how do we control it? We weren't immune to it at the time. So maybe our ancestors did have medicine, to help them with their sickness, but they didn't know how to treat it at the time. So that's why so many have died off, and it wasn't a really good thing at the time. That's how our ancestors caught the main diseases in the blankets. I have to look more into that. That's a lot of knowledge. Thank you so much to you and giving us that idea to search up on the smallpox, because I never knew that.
I heard smallpox was caused by the rats and the colonizers that came overseas.
Yeah, but this person's saying that it was from the blankets that were given to the First Nations, but I didn't know they traded blankets at the time.
I know they traded, but I thought they only traded mostly hide.
Yeah, I thought it was hide. Maybe it was given back, or how did that happen? The First Nations account of interactions shown as predominantly old word bias, labeling the Indigenous peoples as savages. Although the Indigenous peoples were organized and self-sufficient in the early days of contact, the First Nations and Inuit populations welcomed the Europeans, assisting them in living off the land and joining forces with the French and British in their various battles. It was not until the colonial and imperial forces of Britain and France established dominant settlements and no longer needing the help of First Nations people began to break treaties and force them off land that the antagonism between the two groups grew. So this is between the 16th and 18th century that the Europeans had, begun coming in and, you know, saying, you know what, we're going to live here. We're going to settle here. We don't need your help anymore. We don't have anything to do with you. It's, you know, we can live on our own. We know what we're doing. Thank you. You know, not even a thank you, and more or less just they forced themselves. And that was the Britain and France establishments. You know, they decided they're gonna say they no longer needed help of us First Nations people. That's when treaties began to be broken. That's when they just forced themselves onto our land and kind of, you know, pushed us out, like
Treaties
killed
were
us off
broken.
basically, you know, because
Reserves
already
were
by
put into place.
yeah,
That
by
land
this
was
time there's a
taken.
lot of us that were already, you know, killed off by smallpox or
The Spanish flu, influenza.
yeah, the influenza, the what was the other one? Sorry, I have to go back and check on that.
Which one was that?
Measles. Measles as well. But when they found out what it was, nobody wanted to play a blame game. Yeah, exactly. But the Europeans knew, like they had knowledge that what they did and what they were, you know, what they kind of had. So they just didn't take into account that, you know, it was really hurting the First Nations people. It was them who bring it. They more or less just thought, like, you know, we already had like measles, smallpox, you know, other things like that, influenza. So we have somebody here. Hi, I'm from the Netherlands. Hello, welcome. I am Kiona, and this is Talea. We are from the Mosquito Grizzly Bear Helena First Nation. Welcome. Thank you for joining in to the podcast. We are from Saskatchewan, Canada. Sorry, I need a drink. I've been talking a lot.
Oh yeah, for people that don't know, we got a grant today that was given to us for $1,500. So with that grant, we're going to be making women's and men's care packages from the ages 12 to 25. So we need some ideas on what you guys would like to see.
Yes. So you can drop in your comments. There will be a poll on what exactly you want. We just know, like, we need hygienic things, but is there other things like mental health wise that you would want? Like some people with anxiety, you know, like do you want a fidget or, you know, a squishy for when you're mad, you know, things like that. Way to go, ladies, by telling our story about our answers. Yes. We want to get the word out there because there is a lot of people who have misunderstanding on our people and our First Nations. And we need to know a lot about this because
it's our history.
It's our history. It's what, you know, who we are as our people, who, where we came from, what has happened to our past people, what has happened to our ancestors, you know. We need to drag a lot of attention to this because, you know.
It's a part of who we are now. We can't just throw it in the bag.
Yeah, we need to kind of, you know, throw this at everyone, not just throw it, but more or less just kind of, you know, shove this in there, kind of push it because, you know, you can't just, let's just say, you know, hypothetically you get into an argument with a non-First Nation person and, you know, they tell you like all this stuff like, oh, you're a savage. And, you know, you can throw these things back at them. Like, you know, this is what your people did, you know. This is things that have happened because of your people, or, you know, not in a mean way, just kind of politely tell them. Yeah, just to educate them because, you know, some really non-First Nations don't really know like what has exactly happened, like why they're here. You know, they need to be very grateful to be on this land that they're living on because it is a lot of there's a lot of history on the land that they're living on, and they don't understand that. But yet we need to make them understand that, and that's why I'm so grateful to be able to tell this to everybody.
Yeah.
So we are going to do a quick little trivia. Sorry, let me look in my book. Where is it? Oh, yes, it's here. How do you guys? What do you guys think about today's topic on what we talked about? What is your guys' opinion? What is you guys' input on what we've been talking about?
Yeah. Oh, and I got comments that weren't showing up on here for some reason. But people were saying they wanted like socks and mitts in there as well.
Socks and mitts. Oh, due to the winter time.
Yeah,
yes.
I can find them quickly.
Just arrived. What was the topic? Hello. The topic was just about, learning about the First Nations people, learning about the treaties, the land that we're living on, past things like Christopher Columbus when he came. After this live, it will be posted right on our page, so you can go back and listen, just to get caught up, because we will be doing the trivia tomorrow. We are going to do we are getting donated $100 from our co-founder Erica for $25 e-transfers for the correct answers. He came with diseases like many Europeans here did. Yes, correct. You are correct on that. They did come here with diseases, but not knowing that they did. And they did not want to take blame for, bringing in smallpox, measles, things like that. They didn't take blame for. They more or less just,
it was just blown off, really.
It was more or less just like they blamed us for already having it, but yet it was them who bring it, because we weren't immune to those diseases at the time, and we knew nothing about it. So that's why 60 to 80% of our population had decreased at that time, which is a big percentage, because there's not a lot of our people. Like, there's only 200,000 to 2 million at the time. They can't really say exactly how much. Yes. Wow. Yes. That is a very good comment. Wow. Yes. I'm blown away too. I learned a lot just in this little brief 40 minutes here. Like, this is a lot of good information to remember, you guys, we'd like for you guys to like, comment, and share this live, so that you can get the word out there that we are doing these every I want to say, I'm not sure if it's going to be every day or every other day, really depending. We have our she has work. I have my grandparents to help and take care of,
things.
A lot of different things we have behind the scenes, but we do try our best to make the time to get on here to talk with you guys. And with this new treaty topic, there is a lot to talk about and a lot to go through. So we will take our time and kind of just, go back and get your guys' opinions, and, take breaks in between just to talk to you guys and really kind of relate to what we're talking about. So yeah, what is your guys' perspective on this? What do you guys think about what we just talked about Christopher Columbus and how he came here, or how we were called savages, or about the diseases and things like that? What are your guys' opinions on that? What was what's one thing you learned from today that you did not know about? What's something you learned about that you wish you would have known before? Because I wish I would have known this all before. Like, it's great information. Yeah, it's a lot to learn about, Sorry, I'm going through this quickly. So some important names, I will be, posting some of the names. Well, here it's all about slavery at the moment. Really? Yeah, I'd like to learn more about other areas, other people's tribes, and what, other people's nations and what they go through. That'll be something we do want to get into after this treaty topic in Canada. We can learn a lot about other people and what they go through and what's really going on in other countries rather than just our own. But as of now, we're just going to do the European contact with First Nations. So like I said, for example, during the late 1630s, smallpox killed more than half of our people. So these people controlled, the Huron people, who controlled most of the early fur trades in Canada, were reduced to fewer more than 10,000 people. They were attacked with smallpox at the time, So Christopher Columbus, like he said, he came in 1526. That is another good little thing to remember. The earliest accounts of contact occurred in the late 10th century between two First Nations people, two First Nations land people. The first European to see how it was in Canada was Bajarni. I will post the name for that. So yes, I'm going to end this off here, guys. We'd like for you to come back tomorrow, and we will have a lot more to talk about tomorrow. We do want you guys to kind of keep up with our live streams, just so you know, because we will be giving away cash prizes for the quizzes, for the trivias.
The treaty trivia coming
The
on
treaty
tomorrow.
trivia.
Treaty
tomorrow.
Trivia Thursday.
Treaty Trivia Thursday. Tongue twister, isn't that? By the way, guys, we just wanted to come out here too because we got our new setup.
Yeah. So you
we
can probably
just-
hear a lot better now.
Yeah, a lot more clear, a lot of what we're saying. What time? Other time zone here. It's 21:30 p.m. here.
So that's
Uh,
almost 12 o'clock for him. Oh, wait,
it's only 12
21:30.
o'clock for him.
21:30, so it's like 9:30 for him.
Nighttime.
Nighttime.
Oh wow.
It's it's 2:30
it would
here.
be 2:30.
So there's about a 7-hour difference. So we'd be going live, 6 tomorrow?
So around the same time, we could be doing this. You don't have work tomorrow, right? Yeah. 2 o'clock tomorrow. 2:30.
We'll iron out the
we'll
details
kind of see.
later.
We'll
you
let
know?
you guys know.
Once again, we'll
keep
be
it
making
posted.
posts like we always do.
Um,
There'll be a post that we'll be making on what you guys want to have in the little basket things. If you guys want to comment on, say if you'd like one or not. So there's going to be men and women's ones. Their age categories are going to be from
age 12 to 25. So if you know anybody from age 12 to 25 in the North Battleford area, we will be delivering contactless, in the best way we can due to COVID.
Yeah.
We will be putting, another idea, hand sanitizer, face masks, gloves,
face
shields, never mind, things like that.
Those fashionable face masks.
Fashionable, yes, fashionable face.
Because I know the girls don't want to have the plain blue ones. They want to make.
Thank you so much for subscribing and following. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. So yes, guys, we're gonna end that off there. Thank you so much for tuning in today
Guys,
and
sorry
learning
for-
about the treaty and
Just
Christopher
a little
Columbus. Don't be afraid to come back on this live and learn little bit about our treaties and
Want
our
to come back
people.
on?
If you want to come back on, go right ahead.
Rewatch it.
Thank you guys. Peace, love, and positivity. Love to the children. I pray for all of you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Oh, and thank you so much for the Rising Youth who are sponsoring the whole gift bag that's giving away because we just applied for a grant and they gracefully gave it to us. So they're the ones that are going to be.
Big shout out to
Rising
Rising Youth. I'm so sorry. And the Taking It Global. Shout out to you guys for giving us this grant and giving us the opportunity to help our First Nations people.
Yeah, they're such a good organization. The organization of Rising Youth I went through their website a little bit a while ago, but they are an organization where for small communities that want to do things for their community, if you enter in on what you want and what exactly is going to go on or what you want to do for your community, they most likely, if it's a good idea or whatever, they'll help you fund it and they'll give you ideas and they'll just help you along the way.
It's more just to get to be able to help First Nations communities, not just First Nations communities in general, to help, their people, for people like us that want to help other people, it gives us the opportunity to do that. Just on behalf of them, a big shout out to them that they're being able to give grants like that.
And being so supportive and all that.
Yes, big shout out to them. Thank you very much. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Yes.
We will keep you guys posted.
Bye-bye.
Bye.